Hi everybody, it's me, and I wanted to come to you by video because you have all been working so hard and doing such a great job with your speeches that I felt like it was time for me to also record myself so that you understand I do have empathy for how difficult it can be to tape yourself and to watch yourself and upload your videos for everyone to see. And I just want to reassure you all that you're doing a really good job. All of you are communicating clearly, you're communicating well, and I'm very impressed by the work that you're doing. So keep up the good work. Be encouraged that you're doing what you need to do. I know that the informative speeches are hard. They're difficult and challenging. It's difficult to organize your information and to communicate it effectively, but I really am impressed by the work that you've done, and I just want to say thank you for the work you're doing and to persevere and press on. We're more than halfway through the course, and you're all doing a really good job. I also wanted to come to you by video to share some thoughts that I have, some general thoughts I have after watching the video tapes and recordings, and tell you, maybe just give you some suggestions. So the first thing I want to note is that I do not expect anyone to have their speech completely memorized. I've noticed as I watch the speeches that many of you seem to feel like you can't look down at notes or use note cards. And you're either reading off of something in the distance or you have notes somewhere that your audience can't see them. And I just want to let you know that the expectation as a speaker is that you will have notes. I'm sure your pastor uses notes when he's speaking or she's speaking. If you watch presidential candidates, they have notes. So the expectation is not for you to have it completely memorized and perfected. The goal is that you have notes or note cards and that you use them to guide you through what you're saying. Some of us are going to be able to make more eye contact than others, and that's absolutely okay. If you're completely reading the entire time, you need to work on making more eye contact, but you certainly don't have to have it memorized, and it is actually more natural for your audience to see you with your note cards or to see you with your notes and see you looking down. So that's my first point. Please don't memorize. Go ahead and use note cards. Go ahead and use notes. It will help us all just to communicate really clearly and effectively. My second thing I wanted to share tonight with you is about verbal cues. You're all good writers. I read your outlines. You did a good job on your outlines. You communicated clearly what you wanted to say. And when we write on paper, our verbal cues are clear to our reader because we do paragraph indentations, we use punctuation, and it says to our reader, I'm changing topic. I have a new main point. It's very clear on a piece of paper. However, when we're speaking, it's more challenging for people to keep track of what we're saying. They need us to give them verbal cues that we have moved to a new topic, just as you would on a piece of paper when you indent a paragraph or you give them the next point in what you're saying on paper. So when we're speaking, sometimes we have to make our transitions really clear so that our audience is aware we've changed topic. Sometimes verbal cues are done by saying things like, first of all, my next point is, finally, in conclusion. Those are cue words to our audience that we've changed topic. I'm sure many of you have heard this in sermons. Your pastor will say something like, the first important point for us to remember after we read this passage is, and then they tell you, they make their point. Then they'll say, so our first point that we made here from this passage is, and the second thing we need to look at when we read this passage of scripture is, and then they give you the second point. Sometimes they have outlines and you're waiting to hear that second point so you can fill in that blank. Well, that's the kind of communication we need to have when we're giving speeches as well. We need to cue our audience. This is my first point. This is my second point. This is my third point. Here's my conclusion. It's also important to preview for your audience what you're going to tell them. So your thesis statement should be very clear. It should be something like, therefore, I'm going to share with you 3 important tips to help you on upcoming speeches. You need to work on using note cards and looking down to help yourself remember what you're going to say. I want to encourage you to work on verbal cues. And finally, we're going to talk about visual aids. So that would be like a preview statement of the speech I'm giving right now, for example. And then I would say, first of all, I don't expect you to memorize. And now I'm on my second point, which is verbal cues. Those are the kinds of things that guide your listener through your speech and really help them understand where you are in the speech so they can remember what you've said. That's ultimately the goal. We want to communicate clearly, and we want to help our audience members remember the top 3 things we said or the top 5 things we said. So we need to make it really clear for them. The next thing I want to talk about is visual aids. Many of you did some really great PowerPoints. You included a lot of information. I just want to remind you that a PowerPoint slide should be very, very brief. When your audience members see something on a screen behind you, they need to be able to grasp that information in a matter of seconds. They need to be able to look at a bulleted list or a set of steps and understand almost immediately, within just a few seconds, what you're saying. Because if they see a paragraph of text, your audience member is going to take time to read that, and they're going to tune you out. They will not hear what you're saying. So if you have a large paragraph of text, for example, if you were presenting in your office, in your job, at your church, or in some other forum where you're using a visual aid, and you want to use a paragraph, you need to give time for your audience to read it. However, for a lot of us on this last assignment with the PowerPoint, we used a lot of text on our slides. And with the speeches that were given, it would be very difficult for your audience to learn anything from your visual aids and also listen to the speech that you gave. So I just want to encourage you to really think about, how can I summarize what I want to say and put it very briefly on a PowerPoint so that it enhances what I'm saying? It doesn't restate it. The goal is to help your audience remember what you're saying, not to distract them. So I just want to encourage us on that point as well. Finally, I just want to say again that you're doing a great job. I think that you're all a great group of students, really some of the best I've had, and that's the truth. I'm so impressed by the work that you do and the respect that you give to me and to your fellow classmates. By the way, you can call me Kim. I'm just like all of you. I'm learning and I'm here to help, and I appreciate all that you're doing. Please hang in there. You're doing a good job. If you have any questions at all or you need help with anything, don't hesitate to call me or to email me. I would love to help in any way that I can. Blessings to you. I will hopefully get to talk to you again soon. Thanks again for your work. Bye for now.